Okay. Hi, everybody. This is Jim Prusak, physical therapist and pain PT. And I'm here today with Karen, who is a TMS PPD recoverer. And as you know, I'm trying to collect stories from different people who have gone through the process and have been working with these principles for a while, has seen some success. So Karen was gracious enough to come on and share some of what it her to get better, to improve. So Karen, great. Thanks for being here today. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so maybe just start with just sharing your story a little, what you've been through, the symptoms you've had, and what led you to this work.
Yeah, so I probably had TMS since I was a little kid, but my sort of as an adult, what started me searching and finding TMS was that about a few weeks after I had my second child, which is now 3 years ago, I started having really horrible pelvic pain over my pubic bone. And I went in to the doctor to see what that was, and I was told that I had separated that bone probably during birth or right after, and that I needed to do PT and all that stuff. And so I did. I went to physical therapy. I went to pelvic therapy specifically. And I was told, it takes they told me 12 weeks, you should be fine. And I said, okay. And so I sort of suffered through 12 weeks with a newborn and a 4-year-old and just said, okay, I can make it to 12 weeks. I can do this. Well, 12 weeks came and passed, and the pain was as bad as the first day that it happened. And of course, it just came. It just showed up. I bent down to pick something up, and suddenly pain. Right? I didn't do anything crazy. I had a baby, but that babies happen people have babies all the time. Anyway, so then I spent the next year in pelvic therapy, spending thousands of dollars, and the pain kind of went away after a while. And then I had a pretty good year that followed, but I was really cautious, always afraid. I felt like I was broken, that I couldn't return to all my activities. I couldn't ski, I couldn't run, couldn't do yoga. I mean, I was really, every time I lifted my baby, I was absolutely careful. And then about a year after I thought I had recovered from this injury, suddenly I was starting to have back pain. I thought I injured my back. I had sciatica, and then the pelvic pain came back. And I was just throwing money at the problem. I tried chiropractic. I went, I got an MRI. I went to a spine specialist. I did acupuncture. There's another kind out there. I did everything you can think of. I did, and sometimes it would work for a little bit and not. Blah blah blah. Well, finally, I came across John Sarno's work. I read his book. I read Steve
Zanovich.
The Great Pain Deception or whatever. I read everything, and the minute I read it, I was like, I think this is what it is, because I fit all the T's. And so after I kind of figured, I think this is what it is. It was at Christmas, right before Christmas, and I said, no more.
What year was this that you?
This was Christmas 2018, so a little over a year and a half ago. Yeah. And I just started reading everything I could. That's how I am. I read, every book about it. I found the TMS wiki site, everything. And I just started trying to ingest it all and started to try to be brave. And, I tried to kind of Steve-O it and tried to just get physical and get over it. But, and I made some progress, but then the pain came back, and I wasn't settled in whether I had TMS. So that's sort of where it started.
Yeah. And then on that, so that started your journey. And then from that point forward, what was the journey like? And what did you sort of do? Or what did you find really helpful to really propel yourself along this healing journey?
So what helped the most was reaching out and getting help from people that knew what this was. So, of course, after spending so much money on other things, it's like, well, but I knew in my heart this is what it was, but I knew that I'd spent time trying to kind of do it myself, and after that clearly wasn't working, I thought I am going to reach out to experts, and I emailed every doctor that did TMS work, I emailed, I got on TMS Wiki, I Googled my specific symptoms and tried to find other people that had had it. I did so much. I got a pain therapist who specialized in TMS, and it all helped a little bit, for sure. But it was a process of me feeling really brave and believing it was TMS and like, trying to challenge the pain. And then I would get the kind of the extinction bursts, which people will learn about from you. And I would kind of get nervous. I wasn't 100% confident in myself or in the diagnosis. So kind of the changing point for me was actually when I met you in San Diego. And you said something to me that was, I mean, first you met me, and I don't know why I needed someone in person to see me. I don't know why that was important. I needed someone to verify that I wasn't broken. And people had over email and over the phone, but I needed that person to person. I knew I needed that. And so you were, you were very clearly like, you're not broken, you're fine. And one of the things you said to me was just relax. And so after that visit with you, just later that day, I had pain that day, and I went and I was sitting doing something with my family, my husband's family, and I was feeling pain, and I just kept saying, relax, relax, relax. And the pain went away. And it was like, okay, like that, it clicked for me in that moment. And so I think everybody is going to have their own journey of when it clicks for them, and then you're on your way.
Yeah. It's sort of like you get those aha moments
Yes,
where you have been building up and learning all this, and you've been helped along the way with everybody. And then, my piece is just another piece that sort of gave you an aha moment.
Yes.
You saw, literal change when you applied the principle. So it gave you confidence, right, to kind of go with it.
Absolutely. And everyone's will be different. That's the thing. I think I was also like, what is the path? What are the exact steps I need to take to recover from TMS? And I realized everybody has their own steps. It's everyone's journey is very individual. Yes. But I think everyone should feel, the thing I realized, everyone who's experienced TMS, the TMS community of providers like you, and everyone I've worked with that has everyone's emailed me back. Everyone I've emailed has emailed me back.
Great.
And they are just such amazing, wonderful people. And so I would just encourage anyone that thinks they have TMS, is experiencing TMS, has a reoccurrence of it, and is stuck in it, to reach out and get support, because that's, at least for me, what was key.
Yeah. And so from that point forward, you started to relax and your symptoms went away, but then it wasn't quite over yet, was it? The next.
Yeah. So I still had peaks, where it would come again. Like I thought, oh, I'm done. I finished it. I'm never going to have TMS again. And then some pain returned in different places or different, and I definitely.
Where did the pain move around for you? Just to let other people know, because you had original pain and then it moved location.
I had pelvic pain, and then it moved to my back, my hips. I had leg tingling, what you would call sciatica, but I now know is not like a sciatic nerve thing. And I've had an ankle hurt randomly, like out of nowhere, my ankle was hurting. And even just this weekend, we just got back from vacation, and the day we left to come home, I had a headache. And I was like, aha, like last day of vacation and I'm getting a headache. And I knew it was TMS. I didn't go now, anytime I feel anything in my body, unless like I've run into an object and have a bruise or something, like anytime I have a physical symptom in my body, I think this is TMS, and it has been TMS every time.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? So that's great. You've got to this point now where you have the confidence and I think that's really key, because I always tell people, ask yourself, is what I just did I do anything to hurt myself physically? And if the answer is no, once you know this, it's pretty much TMS, right?
It is.
So once you know that in your mind, what do you do then to these symptoms when they pop up?
So when I get symptoms, I think it's my body speaking to me and telling me that I need to check in with myself. So I do I think there's 2 or 3 things I do. One, I try to make time to check in myself the minute I feel a symptom and think, what am I stressed about? What am I worried about? What am I feeling? And just feel it. So I don't have to solve the problem. I don't have to remove the stress. But I need to feel it. I need to allow my body to experience and acknowledge it instead of doing what I used to do and still sometimes do, which was resist the feeling, or ignore it.
Yeah.
And so instead of my own old habits of trying to take what I perceived as a negative feeling of sad or mad or angry or depressed or any of those things that you think are negative, instead of trying to avoid them or push them away, I now give my body I feel it. I try to feel it in my body. Sometimes I write things down. And then but I give myself this space, and sometimes I have no idea what's going on, and nothing major comes up, but I try to check in.
Yes.
And then the other thing I do is go on with my living. I do whatever I want to do. I lift what I want to lift. I run when I want to run. I jump, I swim, I do anything I want to do. So I think that's really key. I don't let the pain, sometimes like I had pain in my ankle and I just stomped my ankle down, like on a run, it was hurting and I was like, and I was like, go ahead, hurt worse. And I just stomped it down. And of course it didn't, right? So sometimes I do need to get more physical to kind of get it out, flush it out of the system. But 90% of the time I need to check in.
Yeah.
And I'm still learning that process.
Yeah, it's a process, right? To be able to check in with our feelings and our emotions and just feel them. Like you said, there's no such thing as a negative emotion.
Yes.
So we can allow ourselves to feel those things. But you made two awesome points. And the second point is getting empowered, outcome independence. You're fine. You know you're fine, right? And you have the confidence now because you've been through it enough to say, I'm going to do whatever I want because I can't hurt myself, right? And that empowerment, in a sense, tells the symptoms, hey, I'm in charge. And then your symptoms sort of back down, don't they?
They do. And the other thing I do, I think it's human, but sometimes, that little shred of doubt will come in your head and you're like, oh, maybe what if this pain lasts forever? Like your old brain will talk to me still. And so the other thing I look for is just, did the symptom move? Did it change, or did it go away in a moment of joy? So, or happiness when I was distracted or whatever. And if the pain goes away or moves even a millimeter in my body, I'm like, you're TMS, I'm on to you, at it, and then I just move on and I just don't care, because if it's TMS, if it's there for a week, all right, be here for a week. I'm going to live my life. If you're here for a day, 20 minutes, great. Instead of avoiding the pain and trying to resist it, I'm just like, oh, you're here. Okay.
Yeah, which I think is a great point, because you're living truly outcome independence, right? Where you're not, because some people get stuck, they feel like they have to get rid of every single symptom. And then they try so hard. And then when they do that, they're actually just adding more stress to themselves. So it's not really about that, isn't it? It's about being independent of this, because we're human and this can come and go. Yeah.
And that's what I see it now. I see pain and sensations, as I sometimes call them. They're there. I'm human. I'm going to have them. If they come, okay. If they're not there, okay. I'm still going to live my beautiful life. So whatever pain,
Absolutely. And so how has that freed you up in your life now that you live this way?
I'm running, I'm hiking, I'm doing yoga. We just went to British Columbia for this beautiful time in the Rockies, and we took our kids on this amazing hike, but my 3-year-old kind of, pooped out at the end. And I carried her for 2 miles. She's 35 pounds. I just carried her. Tim, my husband, kept saying, hey, do you want me to take over? I'm like, I got this. I could carry this baby forever. And I have always been strong. I was an athlete. And it's so incredible to know, like, you want me to lift it? I'll lift it. I'm as strong as anyone. And so,
Wow.
I feel like me again. I literally thought I was disabled. I thought I would never hike again. I thought I would never, sorry, it's really emotional. That's what doctors were telling me. Like, your pubic bone didn't heal. You're probably going to have loose joints and loose hips and all these different things that they tried to say it was. And you shouldn't do those things. And I thought, and those are the things I love and that I wanted to share with my kids. And so I thought I was disabled from the life I knew, and I was going to accept that and move on. But I just, in my head, I thought, how could just having a baby do that to me? You know, and I'd worked so hard. It just did it. I knew it wasn't in my heart the answer. And so I'm really thankful. I'm thankful I have TMS. I am,
Mm.
because it has taught me to feel my emotions, and I'm teaching my kids that, which I wouldn't have known how to do without it. And I'm thankful for it, because it's just made me a more in tune person with myself. And it was such a struggle and hard journey that I also know I am tough and strong, and go ahead, throw at me what you want, life. Like I'm going to be able to power through and deal with hard times and make it. I mean, to live like a year in pain when I had a baby and a 4-year-old,
Oh.
you know, like
Yeah, you've done an amazing job. I mean, I remember seeing you when we first met, and the skepticism and the fear, right, about
fear.
doing things, and just
And and that's the huge gift, is to not have that fear.
yeah. So maybe just finish up with sharing how did you work with the fear for you?
So for me, um, I'm trying to think. The first thing was really to get physical. So I kind of made a list, and I think we talked about this a lot. There were things that I had to, even though I was kind of on the path, you know, and I was doing it, there were still things I was avoiding doing. I didn't want to go swimming, Pilates. I wasn't trying Pilates. There were like a list of things that I wasn't doing, and even though I had made a huge leap in my recovery, I was still being that little bit cautious. And so I made that list, and I said, Karen, you're going to go do those remaining things. And I did. And so I think that was really helpful for the fear, was to say, and what am I avoiding? And guess what? I'm going to do those things tomorrow. I'm going to do them now, and I'm going to do them really hard. And, you know, so whatever it is, maybe it's not running, but maybe it's mopping your floor, or you've been getting in and out of the car a certain way. Well, all those things that I avoided, those continuing to avoid them just added to my fear. And then I think the other thing is using my support system of professionals. So I have an amazing support system of family, but they can only provide so much because they're not TMS professionals. So they believe in TMS fully. They fully support that. But if I really got in the fear cycle, I reached out. I would call you. I would email someone. I still once a month do a pain therapy thing, just because I do, and I don't necessarily have pain, and sometimes I do, but it's really processing the emotions. So, but if I was really afraid, then I would reach out.
Yeah, great. Yeah, and that speaks to like because fear is paralyzing, right? It stops us. It wants to stop us. We will avoid activities, but the way you speak about it, you took that empowerment, right, which propels you through fear. It means you walk through fear, move through fear, to do what you're like. Basically, coming from that point of like confidence and commitment. I'm going to do this, and not back down to in fear to whatever it is the symptoms were giving you. And that's pretty awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks, Karen, for sharing your story. I know these stories help so many people because they can see that people do feel better and people do get through this. And I think it's so helpful. So thank you so much for sharing your story and what has helped you. Thanks so
Yes.
much.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay, thank you.